All of my content is also posted on fivecolorcombo.com, a great website for all of your Magic the Gathering needs, including articles, podcasts, and custom Magic the Gathering tokens and playmats. As a subscriber to my channel, you can use the discount code NEEDSAHONE5 for a 5% discount in their store. You can find the link in the description below. Hello everyone, I am Needsahone, and each and every Monday I bring you guys a new draft video of the latest format, and that right now means Kaladesh, so I'll see you guys when our first pack opens. And so will my cat. Okay, so here is our pack. Our rare's pretty good, but I don't really usually feel like first picking it. I could see first picking it in a pack that didn't have, like, revoke privileges. It is probably my second choice in this pack, would be Architect. There are several cards in this pack that I have first picked before and think is probably right to do in some situations, like Gear Seeker Serpent. Sometimes, if a pack's kind of underwhelming, obviously this thing has a really high ceiling if you get a bunch of artifacts. Aetherborn Marauders, solid, and Architect I could see first picking. I haven't done it, but I could see doing it. But we have a Revoke Privileges. I don't see a reason to take something other than that. It's just a very good card, very good removal. One of the best commons in the format. Okay, so we have an Armorcraft Judge here who is pretty good, but I think we just go Revoke Privileges number 2. I don't really see a reason to move outside of that. I do like the Judge, and if you can build around it, it gets pretty strong. Don't hate Concealed Courtyard either, but we're just going to take a second Revoke Privileges. And if we're cutting white, maybe that means other people won't be all up in it. Wildest Dreams is pretty good, but it's sort of a control-y kind of card. You have to end up in a control-y deck. This pack on the whole is kind of underwhelming, though. Our white card is solid. I would play one Fragmentize. And I could think about cutting white just altogether to make people not be in white at all or less likely to be in white. But Wildest Dreams is probably strong enough to take. I mean, I don't hate taking an early Self-Assembler because once you have 2 of them, they are pretty good. So that's also worth thinking about. Quicksmith Genius is fine. Incendiary Sabotage can be. But this pack's pretty underwhelming, like I said. So it's really between like the idea of cutting white for a card that I'll play. I mean, I'll play one Fragmentize all day, or taking a stronger card that's only good in like a narrow control deck, which we kind of have the starts of. I think I'm just going to cut white and see where we go here. Okay. Aether Theorist is nice. So is Chandra's Pyrohelix, though less good than I was expecting it to be. Self-Assembler again, so we should have taken that other Self-Assembler. There's also Prophetic Prism, which I don't hate taking early. And this card's fine too. Beaumont Courier is a good card in Constructed, but not limited. So yeah, the Theorist or the Assembler is basically, or the Pyrohelix. The funny thing is, red-white's basically an aggro deck, and we don't have any creatures yet, so that doesn't feel awesome. Should I take this Assembler and hope I can try to make that other one wheel? I think I'm going to go for the Assembler here. Built the Last is a good trick, incidentally, but I'm going to take the Assembler. We're still just white. We can sort of think about changing if we want to, but I don't think we're going to. We have a solid card here, but there's also a second Self-Assembler, so I think I'd take it. I like Self-Assemblers in multiples more. A second Self-Assembler more than a first Sky Swirl Harrier. Although I could cut white, but yeah, I'm gonna take the Assembler. So Fretwork Colony is a fun card. Impeccable Timing gives us another good removal spell. We still don't really have a second color, so we're kind of open, but I think we just take another solid white card. I mean, it's not incredible, but it's fine. Aether Theorist is good, but not enough to make me say, man, I'm going to move into another color now. Aviary Mechanic's nice too, but I'm going to go for the removal. Okay, so we can go for a Prism here, a Ninth Bridge Patrol, Narnum Cobra. Maybe we play green. Kind of just leaning towards the Prism. It fits in basically every deck. This is a solid card, but I'm going to go for the Prism. It lets us splash. I mean, we don't even have a second color yet, so I guess we don't need to be thinking about splashing. Well, this is like this has like Tassel Dromedary, Barracuda Club. These are like the 3 cards meant to sort of be like the crappy common vanilla cards, and we got 3 of them, man, in this pack. Spark of Creativity or the Club Security are probably the best cards. I'm going to take the Club Security. I could use some security. Okay, well, I like Windrake. It's kind of strongish to be around this late. Cow Prowler is also good, but I'm going to take a flyer and see if we can make blue-white work. Sort of just trying to read the signals for my second color here. That is the goal. Okay, so more solid blue. I think we take Weldfast Wingsmith. We're already up to 3 artifacts, so... And we're probably going to get more. Um, so blue-white, you know, it's a deck that can blink a lot. It's a deck that can just fly over people and kill them. Right now, we don't really have a huge payoff for blinking. But these two colors do have a lot of them. Some of them are just simple, like... what's it called? The 4-mana 2/2 who draws you a card when it enters the battlefield. Some of them are cards with Fabricate, so we'll keep our eyes out for those. Okay, well, now I think I take an Incendiary Sabotage, and we think about like becoming a straight-up control deck, because this gives us a nice board sweeper. And if we end up in a straight-up control deck, you know, we have 2 revoke privileges and a bit of a board sweeper. I mean, there are a lot of creatures who survive it, but it can kill a lot of things. And it's a good sideboard card against the token decks. And I think I'm going to take the Automaton over the other options we had there. It gives us another artifact for our Wingsmith and for other purposes. The colored cards there were not especially good. I guess I'll take a Demolition Stomper, but the other card's basically useless and limited. Okay, well, Wayward Giant is not a terrible 5-drop, especially as like your last pick. So looks like we have the options of blue or red, but we'll just sort of see what happens. We even have a Prism, and that is not the rare you want to get that makes you go one way or another. So we have Malfunction here, which is all right, but Wisp-Weaver Angel's just like so good. We only have one creature who cares about it right now, mostly. I mean, I guess we can blink like a Self-Assembler to make a Weldfast Wingsmith gain flying, like silly things like that, but Tidy Conclusion, also a solid card, but I think I'm going to go for the Angel here. Select for Inspection and Malfunction. I would not mind either wheeling, but we're going to go for the Angel. It gives us a way to to blink things. Malphus Doorbuster's good, but I like the Angel a lot more. So, what are we doing? I don't know exactly. White seems to be what we're doing, but other than that, I don't know. Okay, well, this is an interesting card. If we ended up with enough Fabricate, it could be pretty good, but I don't feel comfortable taking it. This is a very strong gold card that's like actually first pickable, but we're not really for sure in either of its colors, so I don't really feel like I want to take it here. We have Malfunction, a Sky Swirl Harrier to help us close out games, an impeccable timing for another removal spell. Also, Bastion Mastodon, who's better than he looks. He's also an artifact for our Wingsmith and for any other cards we may pick up. Sky Swirl Harrier, I think, is just better than the Mastodon, though, and that's probably what I'll take here. If we end up red-white, I guess the Spireside Infiltrator is good, and I guess there's also Veteran Motorist if we end up red-white. So far, our deck doesn't really look like a red-white deck, though. I mean, it could end up that way. I mean, like, you know, it's not aggressive, really. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Harrier here. We could take Chandra's Pyrohelix, but I've just been so underwhelmed with it that I don't really, like, it's not enough to pull me into red. If I was already red, I'd be taking them for sure, and I was sure I was in red, but I'm not sure. These two cards aren't huge signals that red's open or anything. Man, we could have 3 Self-Assemblers if I hadn't passed that one. What was I thinking? So, we do need some low drops, even though we're looking to be sort of a more control-y kind of deck. Assuming our, you know, we took these 4 removal spells early and haven't really picked up any since then, so that's worth remembering. Okay, so Ether Trade Winds is a nice little card. Janjeet Sentry is a nice card. It does kind of annoy me that it takes 2 energy. The Peafowl's nice. Chief of the Foundry could end up being good in our deck. I mean, we already have 2 artifact creatures. Sky Skiff is a solid vehicle. But I think it's either the Sentry or the Peafowl here. I'm going to go for the lower curve card rather than the artifact who can have flying. You know, when I say it, it just sounds wrong to go for the lower curve card. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for the Peafowl here. Chief of the Foundry is tempting though, but... Ooh, Ether Meltdown, I like that. It's another good removal spell for us. The other cards in this pack aren't great for our deck. This card's awesome if you're the green-white go-wide deck, but we are not. So we're going to take an Ether Meltdown. We may end up with some other stuff to do with energy. Okay, well, we have an Eddy Trailhawk. We also have another Windrake, one of which is foil. Eddy Trailhawk, like right now, almost all of our creatures fly anyway. Throwing this guy up in the air is pretty fun, I guess. Also gives us energy, and there's just synergy to be had with the energy, which rhymes. I think I'm going to take the Eddy Trailhawk. It just seems like it's going to be a little more flexible than like a Windrake, which is just like always a Windrake. Okay, so we could go here for Glimmer of Genius, which is a nice card that gives us energy and draws us cards. Or we could go for, another Sky Swirl Harrier or Thriving Turtle, which I kind of like Thriving Turtle. It's a good blocker early, and, it can actually turn into a threat in the late game. And we just picked up a couple ways to make energy, so I'm inclined to take it over like a Prophetic Prism or a Blade Master so I think I'm going to take a Turtle there. Okay, so green kind of looks open. This card might be what we want to try to help us win games. Another sort of win condition that's also an artifact, which our Wingsmith likes. Thriving Ibex and Select for Inspection are good, but I think our deck looks like it probably wants a card like Whirler Maker to end board stalls and stuff. I think we have enough artifacts and or artificers. I don't think we have one artificer. I think we have enough, though, to take this and see if we can pick up more ways to trigger it. It's just super good. It's an way to make a bunch of energy, and on top of that, you can draw cards with it too if you need to. So I think I'm going to take it. And we do need to value artifacts a little more highly now that we have something like that. So something like Consulate Skygate is worth looking at. Select for Inspection is good too, though, and I think I take it over the Skygate. Now we take a Mastodon. Man, that's a late malfunction. I don't think I can make myself take a Mastodon over a malfunction. Yeah, I'm going to take another removal spell instead. Okay, now we'll take an Ether Trade Winds. Our deck doesn't have a lot of synergies with it right now, but who knows? I guess I'll take Inspired Charge. And I will take another Windrake. I don't feel bad about that. I don't know. These are all reasonable 3-drops, these creatures. I'll just have to decide which ones I want to cut. Because the playables in this set are really deep. Like, these are all playable cards in my deck right now. There's, like, nothing that I'm like, man, I don't usually want to be playing that. I feel good about it all. Maybe Whirler Maker has some potential to get cut if our deck looks a little more aggressive, but it still doesn't. And we do have a lot of ways of triggering Prowess, but I don't know if that's enough. Okay, so we have a super good aerial responder. We also have Fabrication Module, which is hard to say no to, but our deck doesn't... It has ways of making energy, but it doesn't have like a million of them. We just have a few. I wouldn't mind this Puzzle Knot, but we're going to take this aerial responder. It just fits with our Blue-White Skies plan. Gains us life, which we want to be doing because we want to make the game go a little longer, I think. Servo Exhibition's all right. Nothing exciting. Shrewd Negotiation. I mean, that is a good card. Like, sometimes you can just steal such a good card with it. We could take a Puzzle Knot, which gives us more energy, lets us scry, and is an artifact for our cards that care. Or we could take Shrewd Negotiation. I don't know that we quite have enough artifacts or ways to make them to want to run that at this point. I might just take the Puzzle Knot. Trade Winds, by the way, I guess is something that I probably wouldn't run in my deck if it looks like this in the end. Hightide Hermit's fine, but we need some more things to do early, I think, and this gives us that. Man, we have a Panharmonic on here. I wish we had more... I wish we had a real way to take advantage of that, and this deck is the one that usually can, but I just can't right now. So that's kind of sad. Contraband Kingpin wouldn't be too terrible. Propeller Pioneer, I think, is what we take here. Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot's good. And not good. Not for us, anyway. Ether Theorist is what I was thinking of when I said what I said. But this gives us yet another flyer, so it goes well with our little plan here of attack in the sky. This may not make our deck anymore. And I guess Era of Innovation sort of on the outside looking in, potentially. We do have the ability to splash something, but right now we don't really... What are we going to splash? A bouncer? Yeah, I don't think so. And not a Wayward Giant either. We just have better finishers than a Wayward Giant. Whirler Maker does work pretty well with a few of our cards. Oh. So we have a Prophetic Prism, a Glassblower's Puzzle Knot, a Whirler Maker. But there's also a third Revoke Privileges. I could take Metalwork Colossus, but I think third Revoke Privileges is just hard to say no to. Also, like Iron League Steed, but once again, third revoke privileges. If I was like sure I could cast this easily, I'd think about it. But right now, we just don't have the means to do so. So I think I'm just going to take a third revoke, and yeah, we're just going to make things unable to attack and block. So Gilt Nest Crane. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artifacts. Probably enough to run it. So I think that's what I take. The artifacts in this pack aren't really for us. Ninth Bridge Patrol's fine, but that's about it. So yeah, it's definitely the Crane. We definitely want the Crane here. Have we picked up like any more Artificers? I guess you're an Artificer. And you're an Artificer. You are not. Yeah, I think he's probably out. Just like the evasion, the flying a little more. Glint Sleeve Artisan rather. Yeah, that's a good 3-drop. Our 3-drops are already pretty stacked, but I think I'm taking that one. Acrobatic Maneuvers, nice, but we actually, as I've mentioned a few times, we're not really a deck that takes advantage. Like we have what, this? In terms of enter the battlefield abilities? I mean, it's a fine card, even if you don't have them, but not when you can also just have a Glint Sleeve Artisan, who's just good in any deck, whether you're like control or aggro or whatever. Yeah, this deck's pretty stacked. I mean, the blue and white are both so open that we have like too many playables, and it's sometimes hard to conclude what one should cut in these situations. How much do we actually want energy? Because that's kind of what comes down to. Here's another one of these. If we could really had more ways of taking advantage of it. Nimble Innovator. Yeah, like right now I don't think I'm running Air of Innovation, sadly. Although we have one engine for putting artifacts into play. You put an artifact into play, and you put an artifact into play, but I still don't think that's enough. And we don't have enough other ways to make energy to really want it. So I think I take like Nimble Innovator here. I don't think we play it, but we could think about it. Another Glint Sleeve Artisan. Workshop Assistant. Nah. I think we just go with Glint Sleeve Artisan. Number 2. Yeah, it's going to be hard to trim this thing, which is usually a good problem to have. So I think we take another Puzzle Knot. We could take this for our sideboard, actually. I guess that's what we do. High Tide Hermit, sure. I mean, it's a playable card, but I don't think we really want it. Wow. We could splash black. We're not going to, but we could. More likely to bring that in out of my sideboard. This is on color and a pretty good trick. So we could think about running it. We do have 3 artifact creatures plus servos and such. But yeah, like trimming is going to be not easy here. I mean, I think we still want Wispweaver. It's good against other decks running like Revoke Privileges and crap like that. We can make some more energy with Eddy Trailhawk. Thriving Turtle's a little less good in most scenarios because it'll lose its counters. We can make some more servos with our Glint Sleeve Artisans. So yeah, there's enough going on in our deck for Wispweaver Angel. I mean, it's 6 mana, 4/4 flyer anyway, which is fine. So Weldfast Wingsmith maybe on the outside looking in. I think he probably is. We just have a bunch of creatures who already have flying or who are just better. And how many ways do we have to give him flying? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over and over again, which is nice. 6, 7, 8. Okay, well, maybe 9 ways to give him flying is enough. Yeah, I don't think we're playing Air of Innovation, though. Select for inspection, while good. We just may have better ways to interact. Definitely don't think we play Built to Last. We're not going to be a super creature-heavy deck in the end, and we can think about siding it in, but got to cut 2 more cards, you say. We could think about cutting Fragmentize. I mean, we just have so much removal that Fragmentize may be more of a sideboard card, but I don't know. I find pretty much every match, every game, basically, there's something I'm like, I could Fragmentize that. We could cut our Prism. Our deck is less artifact-centric now. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut the Prism. I think I will. And we could also think about cutting the Puzzle Knot. You know, just cutting a bunch of our artifacts here, since we've lost our artifact payoffs. Yeah, and then just the Wingsmith, probably. And I like the look of this deck. I mean, this way we get to keep our Select for Inspection in, which can just be a huge tempo hit for the opponent. You can also use it on your guys to survive removal, and then we just have, like, tons of removal, lots of just, like, flyers to try to win the game. And I like that. I mean, William Smith is worth thinking about. We could try to find a way to get him in just because we have so many ways of making tokens. Our Glint Nest Crane just did get a lot worse in a world where we're only running 4 artifacts. But it's still a 2-mana 1/3 flyer that'll occasionally do something extra, so I don't hate it. We're definitely low on like 1 and 2 drops, but I think we're okay. I think we are okay. I mean, we could think about going longer and bringing in like the automaton. Could think about cutting like a Windrake to bring back in this guy. I mean, Windrake's not an incredible card, but it's certainly fine. I mean, basically our plan is going to be to make things that can fly not exist or unable to do things, and then just attack with our flyers. And we have Whirler Maker as sort of a late game way to slowly build value, and I think that's fine. We don't really have any great synergies with it anymore, other than Glint Nest Crane, but we have a few ways to use energy. Eddy Trailhawk and Thriving Turtle primarily now. But yeah, I think this is good. All right, too bad we didn't get 3 self-assemblers, but let's sort by color here and figure out our mana. No, I don't think we want quite that extreme. That's probably fine though. Yeah, 10-7 sounds good. Does make me kind of want to bring the Prism back in though. Question is, what would I cut for a Prophetic Prism? It does make my mana so much better, and it's an artifact. So Glint Nest Crane can hit it. Nah. I think we just live with somewhat inconsistent mana because there's not really a card I want to cut for it. So, all right, this looks to be the deck. We'll see you guys in the first match, and thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, comment,